Walker, and I'm one of the student ministries volunteers here at Pointe. Some other fun facts about me. I am married to that handsome guy named Aaron. I think he's somewhere over there. He roams around here on Sundays. I think it is perfectly acceptable to eat ice cream for both breakfast and dinner. Chocolate peanut butter is my very favorite. And let's see what else. During the week, you can find me at a golf course, and I buy things for people to buy. So yeah, it's pretty fun. And what else? This is my very first time speaking to a group of people on Sunday whose combined average age is considerably above the age of 3 years old. So hopefully I'll do okay without myself, Lord. With that being said, let's open in prayer. All right, dear God, thank you so much for today. And just thank you for the opportunity that you've given me to be your hands and feet to these students, Lord. I just want to pray right now that you will open our minds and soften our hearts to what you would have for us, and that you would speak through me, and that anything that I would say that is not from you, God, I pray that it will not be remembered or understood, but only what is right and true. I pray these things in your name. Amen. All right, so this morning, we are starting off a new series. It's called the Why series. Why? They even have it up there. So, the first why that we're covering is, why do we not always feel the presence of God? So let's do a quick poll. How many of you have ever felt the presence of God in your life? Okay. How many of you have already felt the presence of God at church this morning? A few of you. All right. Well, how do you know? You get tingly feelings, goosebumps, tears. I mean, God's presence can without a doubt give you all of these responses to Him, but this can be kind of confusing, right? I mean, God's presence can give you tingly feelings, but so can sitting next to that super hot guy, ladies, or that gorgeous girl, gentlemen. Or what about tears? God's presence can definitely bring you to tears, but so can that super tall guy jumping up and down in front of you in worship, right? I know someone's landed on my joke before. So, if you didn't feel God's presence this morning, whose fault is it? Is it your fault? Did you not come in with a clear mind and just ready to worship? Is it God's fault? Does He only want to reveal Himself to 99% of the people in here, but not you, because you're just having a bad hair day? Is it Gary's fault? Did he not pick the right songs? Is he a little off key? You know, were the words not on the screen at just the right time? Whose fault is it? Well, here's some good news. If you did not feel God's presence this morning, or you haven't been feeling it lately, you're not alone. In fact, we can look in our Bibles, and people not feeling God's presence goes back 3,000 years. We can actually find a guy who wrote about it in the book of Psalms in our Old Testament. You can read it up on the screen with me here. It's in your handout. We're going to read Psalm 88, 13 through 14. But I cry to you for help, O Lord. In the morning, my prayer comes before you. Why? Let's underline that. Why, O Lord, do you reject me and hide your face from me? Or why, O Lord, don't I feel your presence? There are many other places in the Bible where people just like you and I cry out to feel God's presence. So this morning, we're going to cover 5 biblical possibilities as to why you might not be feeling God's presence. Now, these are only 5 possibilities. There could be 100 possibilities, but I think each of you should be able to relate to at least one this morning. So our first possibility and fill-in for this morning is this. Maybe you're over-sensationalizing it. Maybe you're over-sensationalizing it. You're looking for something big and dramatic and almost unbelievable, like, God, if monkeys fly through that window over there, I'll know that you are a sure thing. It's also not uncommon to feel this way. You can see the perfect example in John chapter 6. Jesus just got done feeding 5,000 people with 5 small loaves of bread and 2 fish. And these guys are kind of following him around, and they basically say, so, what do we need to do to get to heaven? And Jesus said, believe right? That simple. Believe in me. But in John chapter 6, verse 30, it says this. So they asked him, "What miraculous sign then will you give, that we may see it and believe you? What will you do?" They were talking to Jesus, the Savior of the world, and he had already been doing all of these cool things that they had heard about, all of these miracles. But in order for them to believe in him, he needed to do something right then to prove it. I think oftentimes people are over-sensationalizing the presence of God. You know, I want to feel God's presence. Shake the room, let me hear your voice. If the pastor says the word jump 5 times on Sunday, then I'll know that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So I have a clip here from the movie Bruce Almighty, and I think that it demonstrates this whole thought process perfectly. So we can roll that.
Tell me what's going on. What should I do? Give me a signal. Please send me a sign. Oh, what's this joker doing now? Okay. All right. I'll try your way. All right. Lord, I need a miracle. I'm desperate. I need your help, Lord. Please. Reach into my life. What the? Hurry up. I got it.
All right, so does that look like any of you? If it does, you might be over-sensationalizing the presence of God. I mean, maybe you are looking for something and he already gave you the sign. I mean, how many signs did God give Bruce here? And he's still looking for it. So if this is you, you might be over-sensationalizing the presence of God. So our second fill-in and possibility for this morning is this. Maybe you're simply distracted. Maybe you're simply distracted. God is with you right now, but you are so busily distracted that you are missing out on your opportunity to feel his presence. In Matthew chapter 13, verses 14 and 15, we'll see it on the screen here, Jesus is quoting the Old Testament prophet Isaiah, and he says this, "You will be ever hearing," we are skipping one. Luke chapter 10, verses 38 through 40 is the perfect example from the Bible. It's talking about Martha and Mary. And it says this, "As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him being Jesus." Verse 39, "She had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted." Let's underline that. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." So picture this. Jesus was right there, and Mary took the time to get to know him. She was spending time with him. But Martha, who I can unfortunately relate with all too well when it comes to having people over, was running around like a crazy person trying to get everything together so it was just perfect. But, I'm on. Can you hear me now? How about now? Okay. So anyways, I'll talk louder. Martha was distracted. You know, I actually thought this might happen this morning, so I already mentally prepared. So, all right, so Martha was busily distracted. Today, there were so many distractions, right? I know some people that can't even go 5 minutes without updating their Facebook status or sending a tweet. It's like, I just woke up, Instagrammed my cereal bowl, I'm gonna go get ready now. What should I have for lunch? Oh wow, my life really sucks because no one liked my last post. Instagram of my cat, hashtag meow. I mean, oh my goodness. Or maybe you're not socially busy, maybe you're not constantly updating your statuses and photos and all that. But maybe you are super busy with school, maybe you're super busy with homework, or your job, or sports, or drama club, or other things that you're involved in. All of these are great things, but if you are so busy doing all of these things, you could very well be missing out on the presence of God. So, our third possibility and fill-in for this morning is this. Maybe your heart has hardened. Maybe your heart has hardened. Maybe something happened to you, and your heart has become hardened or calloused towards the things of God. In Matthew chapter 13, verses 14 and 15, here we are. Jesus is quoting the Old Testament prophet Isaiah. It says this, "You will be ever hearing, but never understanding. You will be ever seeing, but never perceiving. For this people's heart has become calloused or hardened. They hardly hear with their ears, and they have closed their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and I would heal them." So, I don't know what this would look like for you guys necessarily, but maybe it would look like this. Maybe you prayed every day for something, and you thought for sure God was going to answer it with a yes, but instead he answered it with a no. So you don't really trust him anymore. Or maybe you got really involved in a youth group, or you had a really close Christian friend, and they did something that you didn't necessarily agree with, or that really hurt your feelings, and you think, well, God, if these imperfect people are doing these imperfect things to me, then maybe I just don't want to be what you're all about anymore. Or maybe you felt like you were really called to do something. So you dive in and you get really involved, and then it didn't turn out how you thought it would, or it wasn't as successful as you wanted it to be. So you think, well, God, you're speaking to me. Maybe I just don't understand you. Or maybe someone in your life died too soon. And you think, God, if you could take that person from me and leave me down here hurting, then obviously you just don't care. Or maybe you're like me. When I was in high school, I pushed God away. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be in the cool crowd. I basically turned from what I knew, going to a private Christian school, and I got plugged in, and I was making some bad choices, and instead of reaching out to God and other people who I knew had the same beliefs as me, I pushed him away, and I kind of built this wall, and just kind of disconnected myself from him, kind of hardened my heart. So why don't you feel God's presence? Maybe one of these